Welcome to Heart of the Lion. My name is Anthony Strongheart. I saw a man on a podcast arguing he was I believe it's Orthodox Christian. Could be Orthodox Catholic, but I think it's Orthodox Christian, man. And he was talking about a lot of great things. They were talking about the modern dating situation and all that, and he was talking about it with a bunch of women. And then he was talking about a passage in the Bible about submission. And in all this little, he's trying to trip her up. He's on his little grandstand to some degree, and she's on hers too, talking about their own things. And then he started insinuating that maybe she should go to the church. Somehow they got on to going to a priest or not, and which priest and which church, and it's all part of the game. But I guess what I want to say here, there's a path that we are following, each one of us. And we've made the choice to be on that path for various reasons. And we all try to get people to follow us or be around people that are on a similar path at the very least. Makes us feel good about what we're doing with our lives. And it also brings people in close to us so we can get things from them that we want. We all want stuff from each other. Companionship, love, sex, material items, wealth, friendship, all kinds, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We all want these different things from each other, and we draw people in through, the means that we have at our disposal that are part of our path, our chosen and followed paths in this life. And I could see him desiring to break her down so that she could follow him. And that's part of what happens in this world. That is part of what happens in this world. And the breaking down and the following isn't necessarily a bad thing. So the breaking down and the following, when somebody is struggling with an addiction and they finally hit rock bottom and they start to recognize the error of their ways and decide to choose a different path, that point of turnaround is always a breakdown and a follow. They're going to break down and they're going to start to follow a different way for whatever reason, for all kinds of different reasons. So the idea of breaking down and following is not inherently wrong. However, everything in the universe has a power to break down. And everything in the universe has a power to lead. And I don't mean that in a moral way of superiority. I mean that in a way of everything is following its own path. And therefore you can follow whatever you like. And so this breaking down and following is always part of the situation. But not everything is leading to the same place. I mean, technically, if you want to look at the larger picture that God is the eternal being and everything in the universe, and that we're all going to end up, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, dusted into nothing, and the only thing that will remain is the eternal God being that is the basis for everything, that is the basis for us. That is what we are. So eventually we all end up there anyways. But for the purposes of this life, or your marriage, or raising your children, or your karma, or your dharma, or your destiny, or your choices, or your career path, not all things are leading in the same direction. And based on what you follow, it will lead you differently. So, and not all things are leading for the same reasons. I guess really what it is this. There is leading others to help to avoid folly. And there's leading others so that the leader can benefit themselves. In every situation of leading, both things are happening. The leader, whoever they are, whether they're a good leader, a bad leader, a leader that's leading people off a cliff, a leader that's trying to manipulate people, a leader that's trying to do good by the people, a leader that's trying to accomplish a mission, whatever kind of leader they are, all kind of different ways. They are leading to help their followers avoid folly, and simultaneously at the same time, they're leading their followers to benefit themselves. And it's just the nature of it. Maybe you could make an argument for Jesus or Buddha, and I'm not even certain about that, but maybe you could make an argument for them that they somehow were leading only to help their followers avoid folly and in no way benefit themselves. But I would say that the enlightenment, the close connection with God, the revelation and the success that came along with the achievements of Jesus' spiritual path were of benefit to him. It was opening his heart and allowing him to experience the divine in such a deep and profound way that it changed him and shaped him for the rest of his existence. So I would argue that there is even some benefit for him there. And so when leadership happens, it's always both of these things, and they can be dialed up or dialed down. So you can have a leader that is like maybe we could make the case for Jesus here, that he was leading mostly 99.999% to lead his followers away from folly, and that maybe 0.000000001% of the time his leadership was about his own benefit in closening the relationship between him and God and feeling that divine sublimeness from that connection, from that nurturing of that relationship. So you can make that case there, and there would be an exact opposite case. Somebody who is 99.99999% of the time leading his followers so that he could gain benefit the whole time. So that would be somebody like a promiscuous cult leader that sleeps with all his followers' wives, something like that. And then 0.0001% of the time he might lead people away from folly so they don't die, so they make enough decision to stay within his group and feel good about themselves or something like that. You get the drift of what I mean. And so it's always both of these things are always there to some degree. And men surrender this responsibility for this leadership, especially for their souls, for the life of their souls. They surrender this leadership to a priest or a shaman or a philosopher. This is the birthright that we have as men, for sure, as human beings too, to not fall into these traps and lead ourselves into our promised land, into our becoming the person and the being, the successful one that we're meant to be in all realms, spiritual and otherwise. And we surrender this sometimes we even surrender it to politicians. We surrender it to activists, leaders of activist parties. We surrender it to schools and teachers and professors, and we surrender it to doctors and scientists, and really it is our responsibility to look out for the spiritual well-being of our life. And it's also our responsibility to look out for the well-being of every success in our lives. Whether we're getting over a cold, or we're trying to rehabilitate from an injury, or we are trying to open a business, or we're trying to start a career, or we're trying to build a house, or we're trying to raise children, or we're trying to start a marriage, we're trying to find a mate, we're trying to raise grandchildren. Every endeavor of our lives, we have the responsibility to lead ourselves correctly. And when we outsource so much, we give away some of that responsibility. And it isn't to say that outsourcing isn't a good thing. There are many wonderful things that happen from outsourcing. Some of the technology we have, we wouldn't have unless we could outsource the parts to other parts of the world that are willing to do the work. And some of the knowledge we have, the wisdom that we might even have, it may be originated from seeing it in a book for the first time. Somebody who was willing to do the work elsewhere, who went through the hardships so that we didn't have to, so we could learn from them. And that is incredible. It is important to be able to do that. If you can't learn from others, if you can't learn from the world, if you can't learn from the trees who have been around for much longer and seen things that you could never see in your lifetime. Same is true from Jesus or the whatever spiritual book you might want to talk about, or poem, or philosopher, or different scientific methods, learning from doctors, all these kinds of things. You must be able to learn from the world. And if you cannot humble yourself enough to learn from the world, then you're doomed to only what you can see with your own two eyes. And that's fine. That's a choice. Most people don't make that choice, and outsourcing is perfectly relevant. It's an important part of life. But when you only outsource and you stop learning to develop your own discernment through life's challenges and by the challenges that you put in front of yourself. It's not just about what life throwing you a bag of lemons and having to make lemonade. It's also about part of our health is putting challenges in front of us that are part of our practice. So an example may be raising the kids today and being aware of my emotional state, or going into the wilderness and spending 5 days camping, or going and taking cold showers in the morning, or going to the gym and exercising, going to the woods and meditating, spending 10 minutes every morning meditating, learning a new skill, learning a new language, actually working at trying to be a better mate, a better husband, a better father, a better mother. These types of things are critically important. They're a healthy part of life to challenge ourselves in this way so that we can become our own discerning meters. And there is a place in a deep, deep relationship to outsource some of that to your wife, to your husband. Turning that discernment over to maybe our father or our mother is important. And that's not every father and mother in every given situation. Obviously, there are some cases where that is not the situation. But it's important to be able to turn that, to outsource that discernment, and it's important to be able to have that discernment ourselves. Both of these things need to be cultivated, and when you're outsourcing that discernment, you should be very, very skeptical and discerning about who and where and what and why, And so anyways, these things are critically important. And ever since the dawning of time, man has used knowledge, skill, wisdom, information to manipulate to the world to get what he wants. And that is not that is not the domain of only one religion, or only one political party, or only one trade, or only one skill, or only one culture, or only one race, or even only one gender. This tactic is used all over. And I would say probably the majority of people that you meet in your life are leading mostly for personal gain, and a little bit from leading people away from folly. Now that can make you really skeptical and cynical and all kinds of things, but it doesn't have to. You can understand that. You can see that in the world, and you can understand the world for what it is. Because really that's what it is, That's and I don't know that it should be something different. I know that if you want to lead your life in the best way possible for yourself, understanding some of these tactics and these principles is critically important. And you have to become your own discerning meter. And you have to know that regardless of your race, religion, creed, tradition, in the military, there are people that will lead you astray for their own personal gain, and maybe just to see you fall. And in the hippie community, the same. There are people that will lead you astray just to see your own folly. And the same is true in every religion known to man, in every tradition known to man, in every culture and every race known to man. And you have to become your own discerning meter. That is the answer. That is your birthright. And you have to be very wise about the people that you choose to have in your inner circle. That your inner circle should be made up of people that are vetted and solid. And if you decide to outsource it and let somebody else decide whether or not they should be in your inner circle, then you subject yourself to whatever their direction is. And that's fine. People don't have the bandwidth to think about these things, don't have the bandwidth to choose to live in these ways for several other reasons. They're busy doing other stuff. That's everybody's choice and right. But learning to discern and be very choosy about these things will allow you to lead your life in more of the direction that is really right and appropriate for you. It will give you the opportunity to do that for yourself, is what it is. And some people had to learn about some of these things the hard way. But religion is no panacea. Spirituality is no panacea. Carpentry is no panacea. Welding is no panacea. College degree is no panacea. A doctorate is no panacea. Any scientific field is no panacea. Herbalism is no panacea. Democrats and Republicans are not a panacea. America is not a panacea. And Russia is not a panacea. It is not true. There are charlatans. There are people leading just to control, for domination's sake, and for personal gain solely in every one of those places. It's much harder to find somebody like Jesus. It's much easier to find somebody. Who do I want to say? Who do I want to put in that position there? It's interesting. It's much easier to find somebody like a politician. Politicians are way more prevalent than people like Jesus, and that doesn't mean that you have to be like Jesus in order to in order to not be leading people astray. But true leadership for away from folly and towards our development, that is a rarer thing. And understanding these practices, developing your own discernment, this is a beautiful and wonderful thing. And I put this message out there so that you don't have to make some of the mistakes that I did. There's a saying in Gurumukhi, the Sikhs, and it says Waheguru, and part of the definition of that is, oh, how beautiful the wisdom. And I guess that's really what I leave it with. Oh, how beautiful the truth. Oh, how beautiful the wisdom. Oh, how beautiful the true light of God, showing us a way to better ourselves. Not trying to take advantage and hurt us and steal from us, but instead trying to awaken us to our own light, our own beautiful light that we have inside, our own precious nature, our own precious being. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day, for this beautiful life, for this beautiful mind and this beautiful heart, and this beautiful way of being, this beautiful thing called a soul, called a heart, called our connection to God eternal that we were born with. And no religion, no man, no culture can take that away from us. No matter what, when we die, the connection with God is there in this life. Deep inside, we would not be breathing without the connection to God. And that's because God loves us so much. He loves you so very much. We're blessed. We are part of God. We are a piece of God. We are the projection of the light of God. God bless us all. God bless that light. May we not forget it. And when we do, may that light shine bright in the sky that we may know, may see and find that connection. Remember and wake up to that connection again, because we are always connected, no matter what. And so are you. God bless us all. Find that discernment. Stay close to the one inside, God, eternal being, that we truly are. Follow your path. May we all be led to our highest calling, to our highest being, to the becoming of the best version of ourselves, or the destined version of ourselves, the free, loving, wise, discerning, beautiful, powerful, successful, accomplished version of ourselves. God bless you all. This has been Anthony Strong Heart with Heart of the Lion. We'll see you in the next one.